Hey, what's going on? This is your stimulus check update information. The infrastructure bill has been passed. It's already been gone through the Senate. It already went over to the House of Representatives. Now it goes over to President Biden's desk. This is going to be the big jobs plan that President Biden had created, and he got through Congress. Now he gets to sign it into law. There's going to be about $1.2 trillion that's going to go to roads, bridges, broadband, a lot of different infrastructure deals to try to get people back to work. So we'll see if any of that money really gets into the places that they say it's going to get into. Now, he claims it's not going to cost anything, but ultimately everything costs when the government goes out there and spends more money than they actually take in. But I want to cover a lot of details for you about the infrastructure bill, plus this new spending bill that's coming up, that this possibly could be the fourth stimulus check. This is where a lot of the original stimulus plans are going to be extended out. So I want to cover those details for you, but there are some new things, some new details about more stimulus. So what is the surprise stimulus? It says families with kids under 13 get a surprise stimulus payment of $8,000 in the form of a tax credit for child care expenses. The new adjustment to the child and dependent care credit for 2021 mean that working American families who hit certain requirements will pocket thousands in extra stimulus funds. It covers child care costs of $8,000 as well as costs for looking after a spouse or parent who cannot care for themselves. This increase to $16,000 is expenses for families with two or more dependents. These child care expenses include everything from daycare to after-school programs to nannies to daycare to day camp and more. Previously, the maximum amount you could claim for multiple children before was $6,000. So if you do have children, it looks like you're getting an extra surprise stimulus. There is that child tax credit that's going out to those that have kids under the age of 6 and 6 to 17 are getting a monthly check for the child tax credit. And that's what they're going to be trying to push forward in this new spending bill. They're going to try to get past Congress moving forward in the next couple of weeks. One of the questions that's come up is about college loan and will the forgiveness happen. President Biden publicly stated during his campaign that he supported a $10,000 in forgiveness. However, the government has not yet forgiven debt for most borrowers, and the president has not recently shared any plan for it. Some Democrats in Congress are pushing for up to $50,000 of a loan forgiveness for borrowers. Seems to me that if the government just got out of the business of loaning people to, giving out loans for people for college, I think the prices of college would go down and people wouldn't have to borrow as much. The problem is the colleges are increasing their prices all the time because they know they have the government to come in and pay for all the colleges, so they can just continue to raise their prices up. So it's to me, if they got out of the business, if government just step out of the way and not be funding everybody, it would be good. So how are they going to do this? They're going to come in and forgive the $50,000 loan for people that had student debt, and then what happens to all the other people that paid off their debt? Or what happens to the people that are just now coming into schools? Are they going to have to go and spend all that money? So it's kind of an up in the air thing. I think the government should just get out of the way of colleges altogether. It looks like there is a college frozen on the federal college payments. Is for those who owe loans for college, the government froze all federal loans until January 2022. So that's good news. If you do have a student loan, the loan payments are just frozen until January 2022. There have been 5 extensions of the freeze since the 19 shut down the country down in March of 2020. The White House said that there will be no more freezes, extensions, and borrowers should prepare to resume payments in January. So right again, you're going to have to, if you have a student loan, those payments have been halted. You don't have to pay for that, but it looks like the payments will resume. I don't think they're going to ask for all the back payments, and I don't think they're going to charge interest on that. I think they're just going to say, okay, January 2nd, you have to start paying on that loan again. Many people are asking what the UBI is. So Universal Basic Income is a set of recurring payments that individuals get from the government. They can be paid out every month, several times a year, or just once annually. This is an idea that entrepreneur Andrew Yang, who recently left the Democratic Party, centered his 2020 presidential campaign around. Then Mr. Yang, during his run for New York City mayor, floated the idea of giving $500,000 or lowest income residents $2,000 payments each year. To me, I think that's what's going down. It's going to happen here pretty soon. The Federal Reserve will have some type of FedNow coin. They will come out with a digital currency. They're going to try to bypass banks. They're going to bypass Congress, and they're just going to put money straight into people's phones. That's where the process is going. That's what it looks like federal government is going to do, and that's what the Federal Reserve is going to do. Now, a lot of people think the Federal Reserve is part of the federal government. They're actually not. They're a banking side entity they're trying to eliminate bank runs, but the problem is the Federal Reserve has gotten in their hands into buying too many treasury bonds right now, and they're not raising interest rates, so it's causing huge amounts of inflation right now. So they're going to have to come up with some type of other payment system, some type of UBI. So I think that's what they're going to be doing down the road, but I'll have to keep you updated on when that's going to be coming out and when people start to get that, that digital currency, when they'll start to get that. So there is this other spending bill that President Biden's trying to get passed. This is the American Families Plan program, where he's trying to get more of these, the child tax credit extended out, maybe a forced stimulus check. But President Biden's climate and social spending bill is facing the threat of changes in the Senate as Democrats navigate a slim majority and tricky budget rules. Even as House Democrats have spent days agonizing over trying to work out an agreement that could win over nearly half of their members, ultimately punting until at least mid-November as moderates push for an analysis of the bill, Senate Democrats are warning that it is likely to change once it reaches their chamber. The bill faces multi-pronged challenges in the Senate and even narrow majority complex rules governing that can be in legislation, and a chaotic process that lets Republicans try to peel off enough Democrats to inject changes into the legislation or sink altogether. So one of the things that they're going to have to deal with coming up is going to be this giant this debt ceiling. They have to raise it again by December 3rd. They'll go back and forth and they'll ultimately get it raised. But again, it's going to put a lot of pressure on with this bill that's supposed to be coming up. This whole bill is going to be the spending bill that Democrats are trying to push. I think there's a lot of stuff in there that could be good for some people, but ultimately I think it's really going to hurt most people because of inflation. Inflation right now is becoming a real problem. It's becoming out of hand. Prices on everything is just going through the roof. I mean, Social Security, they can't raise their monthly payment enough to keep up with inflation. And the Federal Reserve is not coming in and doing the right thing. They're not raising interest rates, what they should be doing. They're not doing it because of the fact that so many people are over leveraged in the stock market right now. So many people over leveraged that if they raise interest rates, the stock market is going to be collapsed. So many people are going to get affected by it. But again, they're not doing the right thing for the American people. They're not doing the right thing for the world because the inflation on the dollar now is under so much pressure. So Senate Budget Committee Chairman Bernie Sanders, who was spotted this week questioning his colleagues on the Senate floor about dropping popular provisions, vowed to go down to the wire fighting for Medicare expansion and tax policies. He says, "I'm going to fight to the last moment here to make sure that those elements are in the bill," Sanders said, while acknowledging the spending negotiations were a difficult process. He wants to just spend so much money. He'd love to just tax, inflate. He'd love to just print money and go out there and just spend it on anything that he wants to spend it on. And that's great. If you have a business and you have a blank check and you can just write it out for whatever you want, that's good. And that's what he thinks is the case. But the problem is that inflation is tearing into everybody's pocketbooks right now. And if they don't get it under control, it's going to go out of control, and they're going to have to continue to send out more stimulus. They're going to have to do all kinds of universal basic income programs, try to get people stimulated. So if Bernie had his way, he would just write a check for like $15 trillion and just go out there and spend it. But then the prices of everything would just go through the roof, and then people would really be hurting on that. So House and Democratic leadership have been trying to iron out the details of the bill before it passes in the House and gets it across to the Capitol to smooth its path to President Biden and so basically nervous moderates. So assure them any changes made by the Senate will force the bill to be passed again by the House, even as Congress faces a December legislative pileup. So the new bill is going to pass in the House of Representatives and to go over to the Senate. The Senate's got to vote on it. Most likely, they won't get the full support in the Senate, and it will just kind of die out. But if they can get all 51 votes in the Senate, then they'll pass this spending bill. But one of the moderates, is Joe Manchin, says he has concerns about the framework. Says, "I have a lot of concerns." Let's put it this way. Manchin said during an interview in Fox, adding that the House bill is not going to be the bill I work off of. He wants to kind of get spending down. Government right now is a huge spending problem. They are spending way too much. It's great for people that work in government. You might think, what's great, that they're going to get more stimulus out. But when you go to the grocery store and you're paying double or triple for what you paid for, that's where it gets affected. And that's people should think, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have really pushed for that giant stimulus package, or maybe I shouldn't have pushed for government creating all these new bills and spending more and more money. So Manchin also added to reporters at Capitol Hill that he had no clue what was in the House legislation, that he has been the subject of days of high-profile debate as Speaker Nancy Pelosi tried to work out last-minute sticking points between moderates and progressives on issues like immigration and prescription drug negotiations. They're on their way, he added, when he asked if the House had asked for his signs of all parts of the bill. So this bill, it's going to get, people, you and I are going to pay for it. It's going to get taxed. We're going to get taxed way more. Taxes are going to go up. People aren't going to be happy. There's going to be more uneasiness in the country. and they're going to print more money. Because right now the federal government takes in about $2 or $3 trillion, but they spend $6-7 trillion. So there's a big gap between what they take in and what they actually spend. So they have to go borrow that money from the Federal Reserve. Now the Federal Reserve right now is buying up treasury bonds, which they should not be doing. They should let investors buy those. They should let foreign countries buy those things. If they let foreign countries and investors buy them, then it keeps the spending down, and the government can't continue to go out there and borrow as much as they can. But right now they're just getting a blank check, and they can just spend it all and never have to worry about the consequences of their action. So Democrats in the two chambers are taking separate tasks on revision to the state and local tax dedication after House Democrats initially pitched a 5-year suspension of the deduction cap. House Democrats have pitched a plan to raise the cap from $10,000 to $80,000 through 2030, and then have the cap return to $10,000 starting in 2031. The government right now is going to have to get things under control if they want prices to go down. They should be worrying about inflation. I think they're not. I think they're trying to stick their head in the sand about the problems that inflation is having right now. Some of the states, I think we're going to get to the point where they're going to have to do something about their own states. Texas, Florida, these are the states that I feel like are doing the best things right now. They're going to have to maybe create their own currency, which is Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin is the currency of the future. So if you are in a position right now where you have cash in the bank, I suggest you either get it out to gold and silver, let gold and silver preserve your wealth, or get it into something like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to preserve your wealth. If you're uneasy about it, I get it. Go find some gold and silver in your local areas to find your local coin dealers. This is something that you can't really stick your head in the sand anymore. You can't say, well, it's not going to affect me, or I just don't have any money. You have to take whatever small amount you have. You have money in the bank account, get it into something that's going to preserve your wealth. You just have to do it, because inflation right now is going at 10, 11, 15% each year. So that means the dollars that you own are devaluing each year by 10 or 15%. So you go to the grocery store and you're going to be buying less and less. But if you get it into hard assets, it's going to preserve that wealth. Gold and silver has always been a great store of value for over 2,000, more than that, 5,000 years. Now, digitally, we're on a digital age right now where we've created the internet, we've created this digital world. And that digital world was created a digital gold, which is Bitcoin. So if you get into that, you're going to be good. My parents' family, I'm always saying, go to Gemini.com, connect your bank account to there, get your money into Gemini. You can hold it in Gemini if you want. Later down the road, try to get it into your own hardware wallet using Ledger or Trezor. But for now, those of you that are unsure how Bitcoin works, just go to Gemini. You can even go to Coinbase, and you can just take your account, connect it to them, let them hold the money for you, or hold the Bitcoin for you. It's going to store your value. But again, down the road, think about learning about the getting a hardware wallet with Ledger or Trezor, or you can use even some other cold wallets that are going to be out there good. BlueWallet.com. Blue Wallet is a good one. Just go to the App Store and look up Blue Wallet. That's going to be a great place to store your Bitcoin once you get it into Gemini. But go out there, try to preserve your wealth. It's great. It's a great time to be doing this, because the federal government is going to continue to print. They're going to continue to just devalue our currency over and over again. So now is a great time to really get into some hard assets. I personally, I'm not in the stock market right now. I got totally out of the stock market. I got totally out of real estate, just because of the fact that I don't think that those things are going to fare well when we have a collapse in the economy, which is going to happen here pretty soon. So just prepare yourself. Be prepared. Get the right assets. Get hard assets. If you want to pick up some land, do that. That's always going to be a good store of value. But try to go out there and make things happen with the currency you have. Get it out and get it into hard assets. I think it's going to benefit you going down the road. And I'm going to keep you updated on all the stimulus check, all the new stimulus that's coming out. Let you know if they're going to get more checks out. Who knows? I don't know, but I think in this new bill they might extend out a lot of the programs.